Welcome to today's 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of John. Today we're in John chapter 8. We're going to be reading verses 13 through 20. Now in yesterday's session we saw that Jesus made the clear affirmation. He said, I am the light of the world. He made it clear who he was and that he had come to bring the light of God and dispel spiritual darkness. But of course, those among the crowd who were opposed to him, especially the leadership, especially the Pharisees, who were already in strong opposition to Jesus, they clearly reacted to this statement. And notice what it says in these verses as they challenge what Jesus has said. So we'll begin reading at verse 13. Now the Pharisees challenged Jesus. Here you are, appearing as your own witness. Your testimony is not valid. They're basically saying you're testifying about yourself, but no one's going to accept that. Your witness to yourself is not valid. But Jesus answered, now even if I testify on my own behalf, my testimony is valid. For I know where I came from and where I am going. But you have no idea where I came from. You have no idea where I am going. You judge by human standards, but I pass judgment on no one. If I do judge, my decisions are true, because I am not alone. I stand with the Father who sent me. Now, in your own law, it is written that the testimony of two witnesses is true. I am one who testifies for myself. My other witness is the Father who sent me. You notice what Jesus says? He says, listen, my testimony is valid because I know who I am, and I know where I came from. Of course, he came from heaven. I know where I'm going. I will return to the Father. But you don't know. You don't understand. You're in spiritual darkness. He says, but also, remember the law. The Mosaic law says in matters of court, 2 witnesses are required. Well, there are 2 witnesses here. I testify, and my Father, he testifies about me. Problem is, you don't know my Father. See, that's where their spiritual darkness comes from. They don't really know the Father. They've turned away from God. Therefore, they don't receive his testimony. The testimony of the Father upon the ministry of Jesus has been clear. It's been seen in the works Jesus has been doing. The works that the Father does, the miracles, the signs. It's there. It's just that they refuse to see it. Oh, yes, there are 2 witnesses, as the law requires. My witness of myself, as the Son, and the witness of my Father. Now notice what they say next. So they asked him, well, who is your Father? Or where is your Father? Jesus says, you do not know me, and you do not know my Father. If you knew me, you would also know my Father as well. He spoke these words while he was teaching in the temple courts near the place where the offerings were placed. Yet no one seized him, because his hour had not yet come. You don't realize who I am, Jesus says, because you don't know who the Father is. You've turned your back on God. It's clear. When you know Jesus, you know the Father. When you know the Son, you know the Father. When you know the one who is the Son of God, you know who God is. Jesus has come to show us God because he is God. He has come to show us the Father because he is the Son. The problem is you don't know the Father. And since you've turned your backs on him, you don't recognize me as well. This is why the Pharisees are so opposed to Jesus, because they are walking in spiritual darkness. They refuse the light, they refuse to believe in the Son, and thus they can't hear the voice of the Father speaking through the Son. Same today. For those today who refuse to trust in Jesus, they're turning their backs on God. For the only way to the Father is through the Son. And when you know the Son, you know the Father. And when you know the Father, you recognize the Son. That's what Jesus is saying to them. But they're rejecting, as many people still do today. So the opposition to Jesus is growing. Notice it says, no one seized him, although they wanted to. They've already decided they want to do away with Jesus. But the hour has not yet come. This is mentioned several times throughout John about the hour has not yet come. The hour is the hour when Jesus will give himself on the cross for our sins. But that is in the providence of God when that will occur. And until the moment is ready, God is preventing them providentially from seizing Jesus. But when the hours come, when the hour is full, then of course things will proceed. Jesus is on the way to the cross, but we're not quite there yet. So even though the leadership wants to seize him, they can't. They're prevented by God, for the hour has not yet come. As we look in tomorrow's session at the remainder of chapter 8, we're going to see how this opposition keeps growing and this debate back and forth between Jesus and the Pharisees continues, and some very interesting things are going to come about as they continue to talk. So join us next time for our 5-minute Bible study in the Gospel of John.